How about you, Shell? What was coming up for you this week, Shell?
Uh, well, I first, Dorrit, I want to like send you my love through the screen. Like I can just feel all of your overwhelm right now. Um, and like everybody else was saying, like we are holding space for you. We are here like to help you slow down and do less to do more. Um, I also have been struggling a little bit with letting go this week. I gave my first paid talk with a university, which is a university that I've spoken at before. Um, Only this time it was paid. So yay, moving to better things. And I don't, for some reason, I tried something different than what I normally do in my presentations and in my workshops. Instead of like having slides where I was teaching, because I always feel like I give too much value and I like want to pull the reins back a little bit. So instead, I had gone to somebody else's presentation recently where they didn't really have that much like teaching on the slides. They had their own personal transformation story on the slides instead. And so I tried that just to see like what worked and what didn't. And even though I felt really good about it, it was I was freaking out, and I recognized mid presentation that I was freaking out internally. And so I felt very rushed, which I brought on myself. And I definitely did not feel like I was in complete alignment. And I felt like I'm talking too much about myself and giving less training, which like it should be a good mix of both, at least for what I'm doing, because I want people to resonate with me, but I also want to teach them how to do what I'm there to teach them how to do. And so I just did not feel good about it at the end of the presentation. Yes, there's so much cat energy here today too. And it was all in my head. Like I worked myself up into that panic on the call. I was freaking out internally, and like I felt my heart rate go up, and like just the fear in my voice. I don't know if anybody else could hear it. And I just got off the call and I was like, that did not go well at all. Like I didn't get to finish my training. I didn't get to do what I came here to do. Like I was talking too much about myself. There was plenty of time for questions and I did get to do some trainings, but it just, because I tried something different, it just felt different. And then like 20 minutes later, the professor copied everybody on an email. So I was on it too. And he said how wonderful it was and invited me back to talk again next week. And I was like, oh, couldn't have gone that bad. So it was in my freaking head. And so I've been very like, even though I love doing that and it energizes me when I'm on the calls, I'm so drained afterwards, especially because I worked myself up into a panic. And so I've just been that was Tuesday. It is now Thursday, and I still feel drained from a 1 hour talk. And I don't have like I feel like I'm super depleted and I don't have the energy to like even post on social media. I haven't been on Instagram, LinkedIn. Like I just don't feel like showing up. And I have to like work through this so that I can let go of whatever that panic is that like was coming up in me. So that's where I'm at. Somebody else now talk, please.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Shell, and being so vulnerable. I want you to know you're not alone, hon. I did what you did just a few weeks earlier. Oh, I did the exact, and Shell, as I heard you talk, as soon as for me, what triggered me was when you said, and I went to someone else's presentation, and I saw what they did, and I thought, oh, I'm going to do that. I did the same thing. And that is what tripped me up, is I didn't trust myself to just go with what I know, and these are my own words because I'm reflecting right now as I'm talking about how I wanted to rush the end result, because that's my pattern, is to rush and to perfect it. Yeah, I guess that is. And that lack of trust in myself showed up when the rubber met the road. And for me, I got all up in my head and I started to doubt myself. And instead of reaching out to this lovely community to let you know, I went internal. And like I normally do, I love to hide when I'm not achieving the result I went after. I don't want to show up. And I, like you, Shell, pulled back. And at the same time, the next day, I had this wonderful reflection of how in my story, I had self-sabotaged myself. It's interesting, in my story, I knew in advance of this particular talk, and I had resources and I had time, and I feel that I squandered that. I feel that I thought, oh no, I got this, I got this. And as the date came up, I'm like, I don't got this. I don't got this. And instead of the new, which is to reach out to my supports and to ask for help, I went back to that old self-sabotaging behavior, and it didn't feel good, Shell. And so I just wanted you to know that you're not alone, and that I hear you, I see you. I know it's a practice. And thank you for sharing and being vulnerable with us.
Yeah, I would just want to add a little bit more to that, since you unleashed it now even more in me. I recognize that, like, when I get really excited on calls and presentations, I get lost in my own sauce. And I think that's how I can just keep going and going and going, and I don't take a breath or a pause. And that's where I lose track of time, to the point where I almost black out while I'm on the call. And like, if somebody were to ask me a question or ask me to repeat something, it's almost like I have no clue what I just said, because I'm so in it. And I'm like, what do I do now? Like, let's recollect. But it's really hard in the moment, especially when I'm like so gung-ho about something, to like rewind and to like reiterate something when something needs more clarification too, especially when I'm so wound up. I think I do a good job of hiding that for the most part, but like, I don't know that it's even something that I want to hide. Like I am, like, we've talked about being super vulnerable, and I think that's part of like my charm, for lack of a better word, is that I can be super vulnerable, and I'm not afraid to try something new on different calls. In fact, every single time I like do a workshop now, I try something slightly different, because I'm like still testing the waters to see what works, what resonates with people, what doesn't. But then on the one hand, I'm like so okay with trying all those new things, and then on the other hand, I'm like, that didn't work. How do I shift gears back for next time? And it's not simply just a matter of going back to what works, because I don't know completely which parts work and which don't. And so it's part of my growing and learning. It's just super uncomfortable when I'm in it and I'm like, oh, this is not working, abort. And to do that while I'm on the call is the really tough part.